Okay, so I have now been with Palfish for 1 year. So I want to talk about my experiences from a more, you're not gonna just get it point of view. Okay? Palfish is a company that allows the parents to choose their teachers. This means that they do not book for you. Now, when you are a new teacher, they are going to give you trials. But they are not going to give you regulars right off the bat. Regulars have to choose you. And this may take time. So my own personal experience. I joined January 29th of 2019. And I really didn't understand much. My inviter is a friend of mine. And she answered questions when I had them. But my experience to her experience were different because when I joined, there were more teachers than when she joined, that kind of thing. And it's only a few months apart. She joined, 3 or 4 months before me? But it matters. It matters a lot. Okay. So, a big difference between when she started and when I started was a national holiday was coming up. This was Chinese New Year. Okay? Chinese New Year means low booking time. Okay? So I went 7 days with no classes. And if I can make a comeback from that, anyone who's a good teacher and is willing to market themselves can do it too. Okay? I joined January 29th, and there's my cuckoo clock. Okay. So, 3 days after I joined, the Chinese New Year holiday began, and sales was off for 7 days. This meant that there were no trials. We are currently in that period now. This year's Chinese New Year is earlier, and as a mentor now, I can see that new teachers who are joining, similar to me, just before the New Year, are having lower bookings. But once you get through this, once you get moving on and you market yourself and you start picking up regulars, holidays get better. A big difference between last year when I had 0 bookings for a week is now I have a booming schedule. I have day slots open at all times, weekly. But because the kids are usually in school, those are not usually booked. And then I have limited peak hour slots on Monday through Friday. I usually have open from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Beijing time, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That's 4 days a week, 3 hours. So 12 hours. And then I do pick up some extra hours throughout the day. Like I have one student who books Monday to Friday at 8 a.m. Beijing time. And I have a couple of kids who pop in at lunchtime on weekdays sometimes. And then I have a free talk student who takes an hour a day, 3 or 4 days a week in the early afternoon. So altogether, I usually work between 17 to 22 hours a week. Not a lot. It's not a full schedule. Occasionally, to help me make sure I get my level that I want, and I always want to be at least level 3, I do open weekends. When I open weekends, I tend to get trials. Even when you are no longer a new teacher, you can still get trials. They may not be as common for you, but you can still get them. Okay? I've enjoyed my year at Palfish. I've made a lot of friends. I've learned a lot of new things. I've learned more things about China than I ever knew before because even though I live in Taiwan, China and Taiwan have a lot of differences as well as a lot of similarities. I've even learned stuff from the course material for the kids. In the higher levels, especially for the level 4 and above with the old material, I've learned about things such as the Boston molasses flood. Ever even heard of that? I didn't until I was teaching it. That was interesting. So there's been a lot of amazing experiences. And personally, I have not had any bad experiences. Okay? Other teachers may report that they have app issues, but so far I've been okay, that side of things. Fingers crossed. The only major issue I had over the year was last year at the end of February or the beginning of March, the Android Pie update came out, and I updated my Nokia 6 and my phone promptly crashed. And for those of you who don't know, there is an emergency PC classroom. I have another video on my channel. All you have to do is search on YouTube, Palfish Emergency, and it will pop up. And I post the link to the where to sign in the description of that video. So I did use the emergency classroom for 3 classes that night. It was when I was new, so I was still doing only trials basically. And yeah, it's what I had to do at that time. The next day I went out and got my first tablet, a Samsung Galaxy Tab A 2017. I didn't really understand things at that point, so very soon that device started to become obsolete and not working very well. And so I upgraded to the Samsung Galaxy Tab S4, and that's what I'm using now. Having a good device is very important. The lower your RAM and the older your device, the more likely you are to have issues. I did have one instance where the app had an issue and I couldn't get into my class and I was marked 40 seconds late. I was able to appeal and the appeal went through and I won the appeal and the fine was returned to me. I also had screenshots galore showing that I had been trying to get in for 3 minutes to no avail. Other than that, I've had a really great year. June was probably one of the slowest times aside from Chinese New Year because of kids being in final exams. And I expect it to be much the same this coming year. The kids will be taking finals, so they will be taking less classes because they're preparing for that. So that should begin around the end of May, maybe. It depends. With the whole coronavirus right now, that may change greatly. I'm not sure how much of the summer vacation the kids are going to be having since their schools are closed. I've seen some places saying indefinitely right now to prevent the spread of the virus. I've seen the ups and downs with money as well. When I first started, 55 RMB, the base rate, came out to be $8.16. And at one point during my early months, I saw it go as high as $8.24. But in May, the yuan plummeted and it went down to $7.60, thereabouts. And it hovered around $7.65 to $7.75 for quite a few months. And I guess it was October maybe when it started increasing, and it increased through January. It got as high as $8.06, but now, once again, with the coronavirus, it has dropped down to $7.93 last time I checked earlier today. I enjoy working for Palfish. I've been an EFL teacher for 10 years now, more than. And I just find Palfish easier being one-on-one, but also it has its difficulties. Getting kids to pronounce things properly through the screen can be fun, to say the least. I have one kid who can't say cookie right now. He keeps saying kuti and tukti. He can't get the k sound. And I know he can actually get it because he can say carrot just fine. He just can't say 2 C's in a row. Cookie, kuti, tukti. We're having fun with that one. So there's good students and there's bad students. Personally, I've not had any horrendous students, but I've seen stories. Most of my students have been pretty good. I've had students that have left. Everybody loses students eventually. Your teaching method may not work for every single student or may not be what every single parent is looking for. So they may take some classes with you, even for months, but then decide that they want to try a different teacher. And that's fine. That's what happens. Just keep marketing until you have the schedule you want. There's not much else I can say. I can just say that, no, it's not all roses and daffodils and love and joy. There are always problems. There are issues, like we had the app crash last year in April, but the company handled that well. But overall, I've had a very good experience with Palfish and I enjoy it. And yeah, it takes time to build up a regular schedule, but once you get it there, it's worth it. If you have questions, always feel free to message me, whether it's on Facebook or on the app. My Facebook name is Melissa Ann Huang. You can find me in any of the 3 major Palfish groups: Palfish Unofficial, Palfish Official Teachers, and Palfish Official Kids Course OKC. You can also find me on the app as Ms. Melissa Ann, the same name as my YouTube channel. And I'm happy to help answer any questions at any time. Okay? I think that's about all I can say. I like Palfish. It's as simple as that. Some people will tell me I drink the Palfish Kool-Aid, but that's not exactly how it works. Just because I've had good experiences doesn't mean that I'm blind to the bad side of things. I know that the appeals process can be a little, and that they are quite strict in that front. So even I get freaked out if I'm afraid something's going to happen and I might need to cancel or be absent. I actually did recently have an emergency, but it happened to be on a day when I don't teach. So I didn't have to cancel or be absent and file appeals. So I lucked out. And that's literally all that was, is it was lucky that it happened on a Tuesday when I take my son to Taekwondo, and not happening on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday when I have classes. So basically what happened that day was we were getting ready to leave the house for Taekwondo, and I was telling everyone to put on their coats, and I turned around to my tables here next to me to pick up my water, and my younger son decided to toss his coat on his head and spin around, and he crashed into the corner of the desk in the front, and the corner's quite pointy, and it usually has like one of those protector things on it, but my older son decided to rip it off. So he smashed his head really hard and really deep right here and was gushing blood. It was insane. It was definitely emergency room. There wouldn't have been any way around it. It would have been canceling or absenting whatever classes I was having to deal with at that time if I had had classes. So yeah, I would have freaked out too if I had had classes that day, and I understand that. And some people are really good at keeping their head about things. I've had one teacher who was in a major motorcycle wreck, and he was in the hospital, and he knew somehow he still had the consciousness to contact me and let me know, hey, this has happened. But then I couldn't get in contact with him anymore, and I was able to, his message was really not the most coherent, but it was good for what he was doing. And I was able to contact his admin and let her know, and she was able to cancel his classes for him because he physically could not do it. So some people are amazing with a very clear head in an emergency situation, and we were all stunned by that. So it can be scary because we are fined if you have to be absent or cancel within 24 hours. And I understand that. I feel it too. I set like 3 alarms to make sure I get up in the morning if I have morning classes, or if I take a nap during the day to make sure I don't miss classes. So I know, I get it. There are the bad points. And everybody knows I'm friends with Teacher Cece. Teacher Cece is amazing, and she has this amazing little saying. When you choose a job, you have to be willing to deal with the shit sandwich that they hand you. Every single possible job you could pick is going to have some kind of shit sandwich. The shit sandwich being the parts that you don't like. So Palfish's appeals process and stuff may not fit for everyone, and it may be a point of contention for many, or for some, or for whomever. But there are other companies out there. So you have to find the fit for you. And for me, Palfish fits. Okay? So like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. And I'm going to sign off now because this video is a bit longer than I expected. And I'm kind of just rambling now. So bye-bye.